So, welcome back to the Canada Specialist Program series. Our next update today is with Frank from Rocky Mountaineer. I'm sure, again, many of you know Frank. Frank, how are you doing?
Yeah, really good, really good. The season opened about a month ago, and things have been going very well so far. So fantastic for this season and next.
Nice one. And Frank, you haven't been over this season yet, but Tony has. He just got back from hosting a trip to Canada, right?
Yeah, he was really lucky to get over there and host a trip, and we've got a few familiars in the pipelines for the back end of the season. So I'll mention it today. So make sure to qualify for a familiar, you have to at least done our tracks training, and I'll mention that at the end. And we'll get as many people away this year and next year where we can.
Always a good tip. Do your training. Okay, but Frank, I know you've got a little bit of a different update today. I'm excited for everybody to see it, so I will hand over, let you take it away.
Thanks very much. To follow on what Lizzie was talking about and the way that we connect from British Columbia and Vancouver through to those three amazing townships in Alberta, and I can't reinforce enough what Lizzie was talking about is to really be careful where you're booking your clients and how, because of the different seasons and also the activities. And this is where we're able to assist. So people can book rail only with me, with the night in Kamloops, or a classic package, which will be accommodation at each end, or actually packages that go through to Calgary. But be mindful of that Banff Lake Louise through to Calgary component. And this is where if you do have clients that have booked to stop there, we can actually add those transfers on for you. We can add them through to downtown Calgary itself, as Lizzie was talking about, great township, and also out to the airport. If clients want more than that, we do have the packages, and this really helps. And it was interesting this morning to see how many questions there were around the national park passes. So the four packages you can see here right now, they all include the national park passes. So I just want to be very clear about that. And the green dots represent the transferring that we do using companies like Brewster's, like Lizzie talked about. So the top two there go up via Jasper. One of the biggest questions I think should be asked of clients is, do you want to see the Columbia ice fields? If the answer is yes, you're going up via Jasper and then down into Calgary. If the answer is no, a bit quicker, we can go across the bottom there. It's just a range. We've got about 25, 30 packages in total, but these are very popular ones for Australians, and they go vice versa. But as Charlie said, I wanted to do something slightly different today. So we called it Fun Facts with Frank. And I thought I'd just have a little bit of fun, show you some statistics that have been happening over the last year or so, and just help broaden your horizons on some of the things that we do. So it's an incredible year for us. We're embarking on our 34th year in operation. Started by Peter Armstrong many years ago. Now we're led by his son, who was 10 at the time, and he's now our CEO, Tristan Armstrong. And I couldn't be prouder than saying we're the world's largest privately owned train company. We love a record, we love a goal. So in 1999, we set the Canadian record for the longest passenger train by having a train that consisted of 41 carriages in total. Huge train it was. We had to actually move it to get the people off at each stations. The stations aren't big enough. How fast does the train go? Well, on average, we do about 50 kilometres an hour. We can speed up when we need to, when it's not as panoramic, if we're a bit behind schedule. And we can also slow it down when we're seeing the wildlife, the waterfalls, and the spectacular views. So we have that thing, but on average, 50 kilometres an hour. When we talk about our operations, the behind the scenes is incredible. So that in 2023, we used over 19,000 nights for our crew to spend in hotels. Now, they hate me talking about this and using images like this because unfortunately we don't put our staff up at these spectacular properties that we use that are in our packages. Lizzie talked about them. There's the Chateau Lake Louise on the right, magnificent. And there's also the Banff Springs. As Lizzie talked about though, once you're at the lake, you are very lake focused. And it's only just up the road from Banff. So staying at Banff and visiting Lake Louise, if your budget or your timescales don't assist, then that's easy peasy. And now through the stuff that Lizzie has, there's so many options from getting to Banff up to Lake Louise. Drinking on board. Number one alcoholic spirit on board, Bailey's, believe it or not. And coming in a close second was vodka. So I think the vodka was for the Bloody Marys in the morning, and I think the Bailey's was for after lunch as they're relaxing as we travel through the mountains. But that's not what's all consumed on board. We also have the Canadian beers that we consume. And we nearly got to 42,000, unbelievable statistic. Just over 41,000 bottles were consumed in 2023. And if wine is your tipple, the number one wine on board was the Sauvignon Blanc, just short of 19,000 bottles, and a collective total just short, can't believe I'm saying this, just short of 65,000. Now, earlier, there was some questions around, well, what about soft drinks? And it is true. We have the most amazing arrangements of non-alcoholic drinks and mocktails. My personal favorite, not Canadian, but is the San Pellegrino Limonada. So we don't skimp on things that are non-alcoholic either. When it comes to washing, crazy statistics this with our linen. Over 23,000 kilos of napkins were washed throughout the year, and 35,000 kilos of tablecloths. On the left, just to give you an idea, I like to have synergies. On the left there is the place setting for Silverleaf, and on the right is our Gold Leaf, where we have our exclusive dining lounge carriage area. And obviously, as you know, with Silverleaf, you serve at the seat, but it's like a business class size and environment. Distances that we travel, we're the conduit. We saw what Lizzie was just talking about in those amazing images of Banff and Lake Louise. The distance from Vancouver through to Banff is just over 1,000 kilometres in total. And we do that over the 2 days. This is our very first trip that we ever ran, which was First Passage to the West. We now have 4 sets of tracks, and we're not stopping there. And incredible stuff. And along the way, it's not just the scenery, the scenery in this image or the scenery behind me with my screensaver. It's the history and the historical components that come with it. So on that particular journey, back in 1885, a real moment in time for Canadian Railways, which is when the final spike was driven into the sleepers to combine the east and the west. The hardest component of the train building and the engineering feat was in the Colorado Rockies. And as we left British Columbia to go up through the mountains and into Alberta, and that was an incredible time. And so that there is the final spike being driven in, and we go past that. So not just a panoramic trip, it's the history and the historical memories that you take away that are just as important. Now, I mentioned before about tracks training. This slide is a touch busy, but let's focus on the middle first with our agent portal, which is where you'll find your tracks training, marketing resources. Those sales generator sheets are just fantastic. It's like taking a whole page out of a brochure, and you can personalize it with your own call to action and send it to your clients. But please note, we are doing an agent portal refresh and a relaunch, which is coming soon. So keep an eye out for that. Either side of it are a couple of promotions that we've got in play at the moment. For 2024, we've got a travel again promotion. Now, in the olden terminology, back in the day when I was an agent, that's basically a past passenger discount. So if a client has traveled with us in the last 34 years, and we don't mind if 15 years ago they went on a coach company's tour, as long as someone went on our train, we can get them a travel again past passenger discount on our trips. And this is combinable with final call. We have final call for 2024 for travel this year. There is still space available at the back end of the season in September and October before the season finishes. So there is that opportunity if you do have any last minutes. But for people looking at next year, for 2025, we have a wholesale deal in market at the moment with all of your preferred wholesalers. So that's in play and bookable. So the whole of 2025, rail only through to the full-blown packages, is completely bookable. And just so you know, We'll be launching 2026 in August or September this year. But before we get to that, we will do a 2025 agent direct deal that's coming. Please, as the emoji is indicating, please don't tell your clients yet. And please, if you do book before it happens and it comes out, please don't send me an email asking me to backdate it, because it's on new bookings from the day it's decided to start. So keep an eye on those types of things. And if you ever need to reach me for anything, training, questions, help, here are my some contact points. I have my email address at the top, flevey@rockymountaineer.com. Our 1-800 number, if you rang it right now, Shashini will answer the phone. I couldn't believe it yesterday. So yesterday being our Monday was a public holiday. Sorry, our Tuesday was being a public holiday in Canada on a Monday. Well, we have 2 amazing staff that work night shift in Canada. So they're technically working Australian hours. And if it's not immediate response you need, you have the sales@rockymountaineer.com email address. So plenty of ways to communicate with us and let us help you with your booking. So I'm going to stop sharing now, and hopefully my 2 lovely lady friends will come and join me again as we wrap up and do some questions. So thank you so much for your time today, guys.
Awesome. Thank you, Frank. It was I loved it. I've seen a lot of Rocky Mountaineer updates. I've done them. So that was something different. I think it's my favorite one. Loved how you tied in the product with some of those fun facts from Frank. And we're saying that should be like a monthly newsletter or something.